Hey everyone, Zosi here. So today I'm going to be making a Sparxie teammate tier list as of 4.0. So just to let you guys know, a lot of these characters are still in beta, so some numbers could change, but I really doubt that her teammates will be changing super drastically. If they do, then I will be updating this tier list. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to be starting with her best in slot team, which is, it's going to be Yao Guang, Sparkle, and Don Hung PT. Just so you guys know, all of the characters being placed are placed in order for a reason. So I think Yao Guang is currently the best support in the game for Sparxie. She gives tons and tons of buffs that she really wants. So it makes sense. She's an elation support. That's kind of a no-brainer. Next up is Sparkle. Sparkle is currently having a beta right now because she's going to be receiving buffs. Again, numbers could change since it's her beta, but currently she gives a ton of crit damage, a small amount of res pen. She can now give way more skill points. Her skill allows her to not consume any skill points, and on her ultimate, she allows enemies to take more damage. On top of that, she's able to increase everyone's attack in the party by a massive amount. So needless to say, she is very good. She's basically a pseudo elation character at this point with these buffs. I don't think she will be losing this spot anytime soon unless they release another elation support. So in second place she goes. Next up is Don Hung. Don Hung is currently, in my opinion, the best sustain with Sparxie, despite not being able to take advantage of his bondmate just because of the way elation characters work. He is still really good. So this is going to be her best in slot team in my opinion. Now we're going to be going on to second best. So if you don't have any of these characters or don't want to pull any of these characters, this is going to be the tier for you. So we're going to be starting out with Tribby. Surprise, Tribby is still really good even with elation teams. So elation characters can still take advantage of Tribby's massive res pen via her skill, and her ultimate makes enemies take more damage via her ultimate. And she can very easily abuse Dance Dance Dance. Even if you're not running Dance Dance Dance, her S1 makes her deal a good amount of damage so that she can keep up with everyone else. She is just all around a great unit, and honestly the damage between Sparkle and Tribby was significant, but it wasn't enough that I would pull an entire new character for, especially if you're iffy on Sparkle. Tribby performed actually very well and exceeded my expectations. Next is Cypher. Cypher, just by existing on the field, she makes enemies take more damage just again by existing. That makes her automatically really good since that works with elation. And her ult tally, her patron stacks, actually work with elation as well. Cypher doesn't suffer from the meta shift to elation. She is really good as well. The next up is going to be Silverwolf. Silverwolf has a disgusting amount of defense down that she can put on enemies, and she has a weakness implant, which is really good for Apocalyptic Shadow. She performed really well. Actually, she performed a lot better than I thought she would. Yeah, she just works. The only thing is that I still think that Cypher is better than Silverwolf, but in an APOC scenario, I fully suspect Silverwolf to do better. So I'm going to be placing her here just because Cypher can be used in way more scenarios outside of Apocalyptic Shadow. The last character in second best is going to be Huohuo. So this is the only time I'm ever going to mention anybody's kits. Sparxie's talent allows Sparxie to convert her attack into elation damage. Now, this can only be affected by very specific character buffs. So for example, Don Hung's bondmate does not affect it, but Huohuo's ultimate attack buff does affect it. This makes Huohuo a really nice attack buffing unit and the energy from her ultimate is just super nice for the entire team, since it looks like elation units really want to be ulting frequently. Now, she does have some downsides. For example, she uses skill points more than Danheng does. The other thing is that her attack buff, while it is useful, the more you vertically invest into Sparxie, the lower value her ultimate gets, because there is a cap to her attack percent elation conversion. So the better your artifacts are for Sparxie, the less value Huohuo's ultimate is. And lastly, Huohuo just seems to be lacking in healing in this current age of Honkai Star Rail. Danheng felt super duper comfy, and Huohuo just kind of felt like Sparxie was taking a shotgun blast to the chest. The next tier is going to be the It Works tier. This is going to be the tier for characters where these characters are busy or you don't have them, but these characters work fine enough. The first one is going to be RMC. Yes, that's right, RMC. So RMC actually performed really well. RMC is also pretty skill point positive since you just basic most of the time, and since elation units take so many actions and do so many things, getting mem charge is actually pretty good. Also, true damage can be placed on elation units. It's not super great, but it does work. I would say if we do get an elation MC, it's definitely not worth using RMC. If elation MC was to be added to the game, they would just be here, basically. So for the moment, RMC works fine enough as a free-to-play option. Next up is going to be Black Swan. So currently, Black Swan is having her beta as well. She is also getting buffs, and the buffs that she's getting are actually pretty good. So she can give defense down pretty consistently, and her ultimate makes enemies take more damage. All things that elation units want, all things that Sparxie wants. Now, would I say that you should pull Black Swan for Sparxie? No. I mean, if you have Black Swan laying around and these other units are busy, Black Swan can work, you know? Like, she actually performed not terribly. Next is Zhao Cho. Honestly, I was surprised with Zhao Cho's performance. Zhao Cho, when applying his Ashen Row stacks, actually makes the enemies take more damage, which is something that Sparxie really likes. Again, I wouldn't recommend pulling for this character unless you already have them or you really like them. But again, he performed pretty well and a lot better than I expected him to perform. Next up is Hanya. So Hanya actually provides a good amount of buffs, funny enough. So she generates a massive amount of skill points. It's very easy to trigger, and she gives a attack percent buff and a speed boost. She can also take advantage of Dance Dance Dance, which is obviously really good. Honestly, there are very few instances where I recommend using Hanya over something like RMC. Again, if all these characters are being taken or you don't have them, then I could see Hanya being used. The only requirement that she needs that could be a bit harder for someone to get is Dance Dance Dance. She was tested with S5 Dance Dance Dance, and this is pretty much the only way to make her perform. So if you don't have Dance Dance Dance, then she won't be an option for you. So the last two are going to be Gallagher and Luocha. These are pretty much the same. So Gallagher's free. A lot of people have Gallagher. Since Elation is kind of like follow-up, being able to trigger Gallagher's Besotted is actually pretty easy. So sustaining yourself is going to be pretty easy. The only issue is the issue that Gallagher has always had with Besotted, which is if your characters get sent somewhere else, or your characters for whatever reason can't attack the enemy with Besotted, then you pretty much lose all of that healing. Gallagher is also pretty SP friendly if you are able to continuously heal with just only his Besotted, so that makes him pretty great. Luocha is also the same thing. Luocha is just a decent healer all around. Now we're going to be going on, so that's going to be for the It Works tier. Now we're going to be going on to the Cope tier. So the first one on the Cope tier is going to be Jade. Yeah, so Jade only gives a speed buff. She does decent damage, and that's kind of it. She doesn't really do anything else aside from just the speed buff and dealing a decent amount of damage. She actually didn't do terribly. Next is Robin. So honestly, I was kind of hoping that Robin would perform a bit better, just because I think AoE team action advance on an Elation team sounds very fun, and I feel like it would benefit her. Unfortunately, the amount of skill points that Robin uses and the amount of buff that she gives aside from her team-wide action advance is just not worth it. She's pretty much just a action advanced bot, and she doesn't give any other buffs aside from that, which made her feel extremely lackluster. Next up is Sunday. So Sunday pretty much just gives energy, crit damage, crit rate, and that's kind of it. He can generate a decent amount of skill points with his S1, but outside of that, he didn't feel particularly great. He pretty much performed about the same as Robin, which is kind of sad. So he's going to be put right here. He doesn't really give that many buffs. He didn't feel that great. He obviously doesn't contribute any damage, so he can't make up for the lack of buffs he's giving through his damage. Next is Fushuan. So before you guys kill me, this is going to be a massive asterisk on Fushuan. This is going to be one of the only characters that I count with Eidolons, just because you can get it for free. So Fushuan's E1 and E2 are actually pretty good. They provide a decent amount of buffs. Again, she's free. Her E2 basically gives her a Castress global passive, which is honestly not that bad. So she can be useful, but there are plenty of other options that are just easier to get. Next is Ron Mei. So Ron Mei brings only weakness break efficiency and res pen, and that's kind of it. She doesn't bring anything else. She's pretty skill point hungry if you're trying to keep her res pen up. I wouldn't recommend using her. I guess she would perform a little bit better in Apocalyptic Shadow, just to break the boss, but not the best. So next is Branya. She only gives crit damage and an attack buff, and that's kind of it. She doesn't really do anything else. The action advance is nice, but she does gobble up skill points, especially if you don't have her Eidolons. And the last character on the tier is going to be Tangyun. So Tangyun gives an attack buff. She gives energy to a single ally, and that's kind of it. She kind of just gobbles up a bunch of skill points. She works, I guess, but she doesn't work super great. She actually performed the worst out of everybody on here, and there's just way better free-to-play options like Hanya that you can use instead of Tangyun. The rest of the supports are pretty much going to be in Don't tier, which basically have absolutely no synergy or just don't contribute enough to be put on this list. So this is just going to be for the whales. If you do have E2 Cyrene, the very few people that do have E2 Cyrene, she actually performed very, very well. She was like here, basically, like here. She performed about the same as Tribi. So if you do have E2 Cyrene and you want to use her as a universal support, she does work very well. But again, very few people have her, and I don't recommend pulling an E2 support when you could pull other supports instead. That's going to be for the tier list. If you guys have any questions regarding anything about Elation or the placements, just let me know in the comment section below. Again, if anything drastically changes during any of the betas, then I will be updating this tier list before they release. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Join the Discord to know when I live stream or upload a new video, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.